The invisible cage. How the system trains you to stay in the rat race. Imagine this scene. You wake up early every single day. You rush to a place you fundamentally do not love. You spend hours performing tasks that slowly, methodically drain your very energy. And you return home too utterly exhausted to even consider chasing your own dreams. Then, you repeat the cycle. This endless loop. Work, pay bills, die, has become the accepted blueprint of modern existence. But what if I told you that this cycle doesn't begin when you get your first job? What if the rat race starts long before adulthood, right inside the seemingly harmless walls of the classroom? Think about the conditioning. From the moment we enter the school gates, we are told what to do, what to think, when to speak, and even when to ask permission to meet our most basic needs. We are graded not on creativity, but on conformity. We are rewarded for obedience, not for asking challenging questions. And so, without ever realizing it, we are slowly, perfectly trained to become compliant cogs in a massive machine that values sheer productivity over authentic purpose. The classroom of conformity. School as domestication. The modern school system, as we recognize it today, was designed not by philosophers, but during the Industrial Revolution. Its primary, unstated purpose was not to cultivate deep thinkers or visionary dreamers, but to produce disciplined, punctual workers for the emerging factories. The rigid schedule, the abrupt bells, the repetitive tasks, all of it mirrors the regimented structure of industrial labor. As philosopher Ivan Illich pointed out, the system creates a tragic illusion, a world in which people mistake schooling for education, grade advancement for genuine learning, and a diploma for actual competence. The result? A generation taught expertly how to follow instructions, but crippled in its ability to follow intuition. We are promised that education is the ultimate path to freedom. But the kind of education most people receive is a subtle, effective form of domestication. Schools rarely teach us how to think critically about our own lives, our own values, or our own choices. They prepare us rigorously to pass standardized tests, but rarely to understand ourselves. By the time we graduate, most of us have lost touch with our inner curiosity, the essential burning spark that makes us human. We enter the adult world believing that success is merely finding a stable job, earning enough to survive, and obeying the unwritten, paralyzing rules of society. But here is the central paradox. The system that promises security often delivers only deep-seated anxiety. Students are pressured to compete for grades. Adults compete for promotions. And everyone competes for status symbols that are supposed to prove their worth. The very institutions that claim to prepare us for life often prepare us only for servitude. Have you ever truly paused to wonder why schools rarely teach fundamental emotional intelligence, vital financial literacy, or how to find profound meaning in what we do? Abraham Maslow suggested that education should be a process of self-discovery, not mere conformity. Yet most people leave school not knowing who they are, what they truly love, or what fundamentally matters to them. Instead, they learn to chase external validation, seeking approval from teachers, bosses, and peers. They become adults who can follow orders perfectly, but who struggle to answer the simplest, most vital question: what do I really want from this life? This is not an accident. The system was designed this way because obedient workers are demonstrably easier to control than free thinkers. French philosopher Michel Foucault, in his work Discipline and Punish, described how schools, factories, and prisons share the same chilling logic of surveillance and control. Bells mark the time, authority dictates movement, and those who dare to disobey are labeled as failures or troublemakers. It's not a coincidence. It's a structure of power disguised as education. If the rat race starts at school, then true liberation begins with unlearning its core lessons. The iron cage of work. Dependence in adulthood. Think about the exact moment you left the classroom and stepped into the world of work. You likely felt a sense of freedom, believing the years of instruction were finally over. But the illusion fades quickly. You realize that the very same psychological patterns from school have followed you into your adult life. The bells became relentless alarms. The teachers became demanding bosses. The grades turned into brutal performance reviews. And the deep fear of failure never left, it only changed its name. This is how the system ensures its toxic continuity. What began as external obedience in childhood quickly becomes internal dependence in adulthood. We are taught to seek approval and follow rules, not to build autonomy or question the very structures that surround us. The workplace becomes the adult version of the classroom, a place where creativity is sacrificed for calculated efficiency, where individuality is replaced by rigid job titles, and where the only true reward for your compliance is simply permission to keep running on the treadmill. Sociologist Max Weber described this as the iron cage of rationalization, a world where human existence becomes overwhelmingly organized around cold efficiency, calculation, and control. The great irony is that this system, meant to bring stability, has utterly drained meaning from our lives. People work longer, produce more, yet feel emptier inside. The more we achieve, the less we seem to feel alive. The average life path is rigidly defined. Study hard, secure a stable job, buy a house, pay bills, and retire, if you're lucky, before you die. But what if the goal itself is the trap? What if the system was never intended to lead to freedom, but to keep you endlessly occupied and perpetually striving? Alan Watts famously compared this to playing a game where success is always just one step ahead: better grades, higher status, bigger possessions. Yet no one ever tells you the game was rigged from the start. Why do so many people accept this without question? Because the system rewards conformity with comfort and brutally punishes resistance with uncertainty. It convinces us that stability equals safety, and that following the path others laid out is wisdom. But deep down, you know something is wrong. You sense it in the pervasive anxiety, in the exhaustion that never seems to end, and in the quiet longing for something more, a life with meaning, not just sheer survival. Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps, wrote that life is made unbearable not by circumstance, but only by a profound lack of meaning and purpose. Today, millions suffer from this silent emptiness. They have possessions, routines, and roles, but no deeper why. The emptiness is not a sign of failure, it is a symptom of awakening. It is your soul whispering, "You were not meant for this." The digital cage, attention as currency. The rat race has evolved. It no longer needs to confine you to a physical classroom or a factory floor. It simply needs your attention. The new classroom is your screen. Instead of bells and chalkboards, we have algorithms and notifications shaping how we think, feel, and behave. In the digital age, attention is the new currency, and distraction is the new form of control. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls this the burnout society, where people exploit themselves in the name of self-optimization. We have internalized the master. We pressure ourselves to be productive, visible, and constantly improving. We become our own taskmasters, voluntarily running on the hamster wheel, chasing validation that never ever satisfies. Social media tragically transformed the metrics of success from income to image. Now, even rest must be aesthetic. Even authenticity must be curated. Every like, every scroll, every post is part of an invisible, frantic race for significance. We compare our complex private struggles to the glossy public highlight reels of others and wonder why we feel so small. Sociologist Jean Baudrillard wrote that modern life has replaced reality with simulacra, copies of things that no longer have an original. We no longer chase real fulfillment. We chase the image of fulfillment. We no longer seek truth. We seek recognition. The rat race follows you home. It lives in your pocket. It whispers constantly in your mind. The roots of this conditioning go back to school. Compliance disguised as success. Have you noticed how difficult it is to simply do nothing? To sit quietly without checking your phone, without filling the silence? That discomfort you feel is not natural. It's the withdrawal symptom of a mind addicted to stimulation. We've been conditioned to confuse stillness with laziness, silence with boredom, and solitude with loneliness. But those very states are precisely where clarity, creativity, and inner peace are born. Søren Kierkegaard once said, "The crowd is untruth." Truth cannot be found in collective opinion or external validation. It must be found within. Yet the modern system traps us relentlessly in the crowd, drowning our individuality in a deafening sea of noise. The moment you realize this, the illusion begins to crack. You start noticing how fear, competition, and manufactured scarcity are used to manipulate your choices. You begin to sense that the rat race isn't fueled by necessity, but by profound inherited conditioning. The ultimate rebellion, awareness and alignment. What if the real revolution isn't about changing the system, but about radically changing the self? The system thrives on unconscious participation. It depends on your automatic compliance, your unquestioned habits, and your silent agreement to keep running the race. The moment you simply stop running, the system begins to lose its grip. True rebellion is not noise, it is awareness. Carl Jung provided the key. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is the essence of breaking free. It's not about rejecting society. It's about seeing clearly the invisible patterns that govern your behavior. The conditioning from school, the pressure from work, the need for validation from technology, all of it loses its power when you become aware of its operation. Awareness transforms compulsion into genuine choice. But awareness is only the first step. The next is alignment. You must begin to realign your actions with what is truly meaningful to you. Ask yourself, what do I truly value? What would I pursue if no one were watching? If there were no grades, no bosses, no social metrics to impress? These questions are uncomfortable because they confront you with your own forgotten freedom. Most people live running from this discomfort, clinging to distraction and illusions of certainty. But freedom always requires courage. Courage to question, to stand apart, to slow down when the world screams for speed. Jiddu Krishnamurti taught, "It is no measure of health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. To awaken is to become healthily unadjusted, to stop mistaking exhaustion for virtue, business for purpose, and obedience for peace. The system will not applaud your awakening. It may actively punish it. But remember this, every step toward authenticity will feel like rebellion to those who are still asleep. You are not here to fit in. You are here to wake up. You start by reclaiming what the system stole from you. Your attention, your time, your mind, and your sense of wonder. Guard your attention as you would your most valuable possession, because it is. Spend time each day disconnected from the noise. Let your mind breathe. Work not merely to survive, but to express. Create something not because it's profitable, but because it feels alive within you. Viktor Frankl taught that the last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That is the essence of liberation. Even within systems of control, you can choose how to see, how to act, how to live. The external rat race loses its grip when the internal race ends. Ask yourself, are you living by design or by default? The rat race starts at school, but it can end the very moment you decide to stop running. The finish line was never out there. It was always profoundly within you. When you see that, the bells stop ringing, the grades no longer matter, the noise fades, and in the quiet that follows, you find yourself again, free, awake, and truly alive.